And welcome in everyone to LoneStarVarsity.com, brought to you by Happy State Bank. And after all the preseason two-a-days and prognostications, it's finally time for football on the South Plains of Texas. I'm Zach Long, and I'd love to introduce to you Phil Torigno, going to be covering high school sports for the Avalanche-Journal. Phil, welcome to West Texas.
Oh, definitely. Thanks for that, Zach.
You know, we've been stuffing your head with as much West Texas football knowledge as possible in the few days that you've been here. You've already been out. You've been ingesting a lot. What stands out as we go into week 0, which I know is weird, but that's how they do it in Texas. They call it week 0, but essentially the first week of high school football.
Well, that certainly did catch me off guard, so it's funny you mentioned the week 0. I'm really curious to see if the new schemes that are being implemented with some of the area teams, if they'll pan out. I mean, at this part of the season, Zach, as you know, we get a lot of coach speak. Everything is peachy. All the kids are grasping everything, and everything looks remarkable at this point. I want to know, for instance, at Coronado, how will the air raid look? At Plainview, will the pistol wing tee be effective in the second season that Ryan Rhodes is implementing it? So I really want to see how everything that sounds good now will pan out.
And the good thing is, in about 4 or 5 days from now, we're going to know a lot of answers because you're going to have their first games in. But in the meantime, we've both been out to some scrimmages.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of our LISD and area schools get to play in a controlled environment, but it's still a good indicator. What are some notes you've kind of taken away so far from some of those scrimmages?
I guess the first one being Estacado. The big storyline with them is that they are hoping to replace an outstanding back they had, Robert Johnson. Replace might not be the best word because of such a strong player that he was, but they have about 4 running backs that are competing for time. The one I was impressed with most at the scrimmage was Kedron Anderson. He's a 6'2 back, really lanky, but was very effective against Big Spring. And Estacado ran all over Big Spring, and as you know, that's not a pushover team.
Absolutely.
So for them, it's definitely the running backs. Very impressed with James Garcia from Lubbock. As Coach Strong said from them, as James Garcia goes, we go. So I think if he's able to stay healthy on that, surgically repaired knee he had, that'll bode really well for them. And Coronado, I suppose, just lastly, there's been a bit of a quarterback battle there between JT Morris, the senior, and the outstanding incoming sophomore, Christian Hayes. I think it's fascinating that Coach Parr would even consider not playing Christian Hayes.
Yeah, it's one of those first things when I first talked to Coach Parr and he said, hold on a second here, we got a quarterback battle. I kind of went, what? But then I have to remember, Coach Parr did a heck of a job at Caprock turning that program around. He runs a great offense. He knows a quarterback when he sees it. So I'm not going to doubt him, but I am going to be surprised on Friday night if they march out there and it's not Christian Hayes.
No, certainly.
Bill, let's go ahead and get right down to it. Look at some of the games that are maybe the most intriguing to us. We picked out 5, which was hard because there's a lot of good games in week 0. Let's start first with what's been one of the best games for us the last few years to cover right off the bat, Cooper and Idalou.
We get the 5A, 3A here, Zach, with, of course, the Pirates being the 5A team. I'm really interested to see what this offense looks like for them this year since they'll be working in a new quarterback. And Idalou, we've discussed this at length.
Absolutely. Very tough team, very disciplined under Coach Lofton. They're not going to give you much. You're going to have to beat them straight up because there's not going to be a lot of mistakes made. And then, when you look past that with Cooper and Idalou, we go up the road just a little bit.
Yep.
How about Plainview? They got a testy first week opponent in Canyon Randall.
Well, certainly that should be a remarkable measuring stick for them, I think, to see their progression within this pistol wing tee. Sort of the thing with them is that their coach Ryan Rhodes had one spring to work in this offense, and last year they were very competitive. They were 3-7 with some very, very tight games, but they didn't sort of obviously end up with the type of record that they'd like. There are some pieces there. I've been texting back and forth with him, and he thinks that we may have been a little harsh with our preseason rankings, but there seems to be potential with this offense.
Well, the great thing about our preseason rankings, don't you, Phil? You can shut us up real fast. Just win football games, and we look like a bunch of dumbasses, and we'll go on our way, and we'll be a little bit wiser about the Plainview Bulldogs next time. But for now, though, we're going to keep them right there. We'll go on to another game that has a lot of intrigue. Teams that really don't usually play, and now they're going to do it first game of the year, Littlefield and Snyder.
There's the perception, I think, that Snyder is going to get abused in their district this year, particularly if you looked at there with Abilene Wiley and Stephenville. So
it's a little ugly. That's a little ugly.
On paper, it seems that Coach James Polk's team will be in for it. But now the Stephenville coach told me that let's not be so quick with the doom and gloom, about Snyder, because there might be something to this team, and I think that's pretty high praise.
And they've got a tradition down there. That team has been really good. One of our best area teams the last 5-6 years. They're not going to lay down. They have a good enough core value that they're not, they're going to go in there, maybe surprise someone in that district, even though you have Wiley and Stephenville in there. How about another intriguing game for us here, Levelland and Muleshoe?
Sure, Muleshoe, obviously, Danny Campos, the quarterback, he was outstanding last season. He sort of is the name that stands out, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. And Levelland returns quite a bit. I've spoken at length with their coach, Jared Sanderson. He seems to be excited about this group, so that's one that certainly jumped out to me.
And you know Coach Wood and Muleshoe, they want to improve off of what they did last year. And what we've seen with Coach Wood over the years is sometimes they have to bring in a young quarterback, but he gets a year of experience in that air raid offense, and then it looks like the next 2-3 years, in this case for Campos, they could be dangerous. One of those teams we should probably watch for the rest of the season. Another one of our teams we've been looking at that could have a very strong year, they're actually down a classification. How about Abernathy and Post?
These are two teams that are respectively in 2A and 3A, supposed to win their districts. And when you have two squads with high expectations, I imagine week one, it'll probably mean a lot to both of them.
Yeah, Garrett Royal, really good quarterback for Abernathy, and Post has been a very physical team the last few years. That could be a fun one. You have nothing to do on Friday night, go watch that one. Speaking of Friday night, this is your first week going to be covering Texas high school football. Where are we going to see you at?
That's correct. Thursday I'm going to get actually to a six-man game, which is not something that I've ever seen before.
Yeah, we're integrating him the right way. Thursday night game, I think, Ropes and Jayton, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's he's going to be educated the right way. A very high offensive game, I can promise you.
Definitely.
And then what about Friday night when we get to some of the big schools?
I'll be actually the first one that we mentioned, so Cooper and Idalou, which I imagine will be a strong starting point.
Yeah, we're treating him the right way, folks. We promise we're sending him out to good, strong games. But all right, Phil, for now, I think we've talked enough football. I think we're ready to actually see games be played on Thursday and Friday night across the South Plains. And for complete coverage of Phil and everyone else on our team, stay locked into LoneStarVarsity.com and LubbockOnline.com for complete coverage of high school football. For Phil Torigno, I'm Zach Long. This is LoneStarVarsity.com, brought to you by Happy State Bank.